The FNL Network Talkshow.
All right. Hi, everybody out there. Welcome. I'm Sean P Bennet, as in SeanPBennet.com. What? Check it out. Find out what it's all about. But more importantly, we are here on the FNL Network doing the FNL Network Talk Show. And I am joined by Shawnee's Angels. I got Eugenia, I got Marianne, I've got Jill, and Jill has a dog. Maybe they'll make a guest appearance. Who knows? Anything can happen. Oh, look at that. I can't really see it, but now I can. There you go. Cheers. Maybe Marianne has a duck. She often hangs out with them. I don't know. Anything can happen on the show. Oh, what a cute. I love it. And today we're going to discuss a few things like inflation, who likes that, maybe ways around it, also how sometimes having a positive attitude can change, other relationships, whether they're personal or work related. And also, just are you attracted mainly to authenticity, what attracts you to people, and have you found, your vulnerability to be a strength at different times and maybe examples. So, but I want to start it off superficially because that's who I am. I'm superficial. So today, my experience was I went for a wardrobe fitting, and when I was leaving, it wasn't very exciting. One of the costumers was afraid of another costumer, so I guess it was like inside dish. And I hear a voice, and I just look over, and somebody's ordering their lunch to a production assistant, and I'm like, that is Matt Bomer. And I'm like, wow, Bomer can give me a boner. So I'm just saying. So all of a sudden, I got a little celebrity Bomer crush. And so I wasn't even 100% sure it was him. I pretty much thought so. But then I Googled the cast of the production I'm doing at the end of the month. And yep, he's in it. So anyhow, do you ladies have any celebrity Bomer boner crushes?
Not really.
No? All right, well, you're married.
I'm boring. I really don't.
It's all right. I didn't even know I had one until I saw him. What about you?
I'm married, but I still have crushes like every day. I think it's healthy, for my mind. I think it's natural.
Yeah, you like it cheap. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay. I mean, I have crushes on real talent, more than anything than the looks. And I have crushes on musicians just because I can't sing as well. I can't be like a rock star, which I always dream. But whenever I see somebody really can play, I think it's such an amazing skill. I have a crush on one dead celebrity. It's Elvis. And I actually never knew his story. I just came from Cannes and watched the film. And it is just such a heartbreaking crazy story about him and his manager, and like him coming and growing up in this like African-American neighborhood, super poor, and how he got into music and like how it is the soul and just his whole journey, it's just amazing. And from musicians now, I have a super crush. There's this group that I discovered while I was in pandemic trying to do music classes. And it's actually two guys. My favorite song is Stole the Show, and it's by Parson James and Kygo. And Kygo's a Norwegian DJ who's like a classical pianist and just so talented. And Parson James is an incredible musician too. And they're like over 1 million views on Spotify. And I'm so excited for them, for that. But it's more like a soul crushes for that.
Nice. I do have a question though, because I don't like the commercial for the Elvis movie, but I do love Baz Luhrmann, and I think Tom Hanks plays the manager. Was it a great movie? You really liked it?
I just identified with the heart of the story. How a lot of times artists, they have to work no matter what, and they may be not so good with financials, and then the manager takes over, and what happens. Not specifically protective, but yeah, I think it's a great film. I think you'll be surprised when you see it.
Awesome. Okay, Jill, any crushes?
Guys. Okay, so Eva Longoria, Heidi Klum, anybody from like the 80s and 90s that was like really rising, like all the girls that I have big crushes on out there. Yeah. All those,
nice.
yeah.
Your dog agrees. Look at that.
And Ray Lou, I have a big crush on him too.
Aw, I love it.
A lot of TV stars up in Canada in my magazine called I'm Here With. And I had met Kevin Sorbo and his wife, Sam Sorbo, and they were such a hot item back in the day in the Hercules TV series. And when I was interviewing them, I got so starstruck. I couldn't even interview him actually. I was just like, oh, you guys do it. Because I got that like boner for him almost, and shared that with his wife, and she was totally fine with it. So it was all good. It happens, and then you meet them in real life when you've been. And Sam Sorbo too. She's so beautiful, and I couldn't believe meeting them. So those kind of people that I've been watching since I'm an 80s girl. 88 I was born. So anybody I've been watching, like Bret Hart and all those people who are in Calgary, Canada, were the big names. Yeah, it's pretty crazy meeting your crushes.
I love it. And I just want to say, Eugenia, I love that beautiful long hair. You remind me of Bo Derek. I love it.
It's so fake. It's so fake.
You look like Heidi Klum, Eugene.
I get that a lot. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, he's so beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, so from something more fun to something less fun, I was thinking, and because there might be a way you found around it, maybe it's not impacting you, but has inflation impacted you as far as gas prices, maybe travel plans, what you're buying at the grocery store, different areas? Maybe I'll start this time with you, Jill.
Being in Canada, we have a different dollar than you guys, obviously. We're a little less, but or the amount that it's comparative. But yes, gas has been so bad in the last few months. It was like almost at like $2 a little while ago. But it keeps coming down here and there to like 150, 160, 170, 190. So yeah, it affects everything. Oil and gas for us is a huge marker for like if we go out for dinner, if we can do extra things in our lives. With COVID happening as well. But yeah, the inflation of what's going on with the war and all that things have definitely affected Canada a little bit.
Have you found anything to make it better or a way around it?
By not going out as much, guys. Staying at home. Yeah. People go to the dollar store a lot in Canada as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dollar store stock is like, woo, because we're talking a little bit about stocks before this. Okay,
Yeah.
What about you?
Were you asking me?
Yeah, I'm talking to
Sorry,
you.
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
So, yes, we haven't gone on a lot of vacations this year. We like to go on a few. We've just not done as many. Really trying to not go out to eat as much because that's something that's easy to cut out. As far as grocery shopping, I still buy the same things because I'm pretty health conscious and I don't want to stop eating right because that's going to be, in my mind, a whole other issue. If you don't eat right and you don't take care of your body, then you may end up at the doctor. So I'd still get the same things at the grocery store, but there's a lot of other extra things like going out for fun, going out to eat, things like that we've kind of cut out or cut back on.
Sure. And did you find so that's really your way of saving money or dealing with it is by just cutting back on your activities?
Yeah, on the fun stuff.
All right. Well, opposite Eugenia, she's off to Cannes. You are on the French Riviera. You're balling. You got a new two. Okay, let's see. How has it affected you? Because $1 or $2 on gas in California would be a steal.
Well, it affects me on all kind of levels just because, I escaped from Russia like at a really young age. And then my mom, I'm getting her American passport and thank God she's stuck here, but all her credit cards are closed. And, it's really hard. And like, people like her, for sure, it affects her a lot in that sense. But also being in LA, I think anybody is affected just because you have to drive the car. And a lot of my actor friends, they try to like carpool or do things, together just because how it is. Like actors, they're artists and, they're not specifically getting around all the time. I think personally, just a reflection, you look back and I know a lot of more people who suffer much more than I, so I try to be conscious of that and like give back. And people are in war zone, like I'm sure it's next level of perfection. I know that the oil war is real now, whatever is going to happen, so it will definitely affect the economy of every country and every person. And and go to simple things in life. That's all that matters.
All right. Well, for myself, basically, I kind of following the lead of the Marianne and Jill, I've cut back on going out to eat because to me in New York, it was always expensive and now it's like astronomical. And I'd always heard they make all their money from liquor sales. I guess it's not true because why are all the food prices more? So, I know the price of buying food is more. So maybe that's how we're justifying raising expensive prices even higher. So that's one thing I've cut back out on. I'm very lucky I belong to all these like websites because I'm like the king of deals. So I can see Broadway for $4 often. So, my going out hasn't quite been affected. Also being a New Yorker, it would be $600 or so just to park my car each month. So I don't have one. So the gas prices don't affect me. I actually save a lot of money by not having a car. So that's one thing, and travel, to me, just because of COVID restrictions, that it could change, something else could happen now we have monkeypox. I mean, who knows what's going to go on, so I'm a little like scared to book like international, travel. Now, one thing that I'm wondering, and I'd like, all your feedbacks, and in Canada, it might be a little bit different, but to me, I think pricing, it's a lot of corporate greed. And, even the same thing with like the baby formula, like only a couple of people had the market on it because we weren't allowing imports. So when one company folded, like now babies can't get formula. So I personally think that there should be restrictions on how much you can price gouge your consumers or some sort of level, even with the gas, if there isn't a short supply, just because we get, I think, around 3% of our oil or so, up to maybe 10 max, I think, from Russia. So why is it so impacted? I mean, I just think it's a way that people can use as an excuse to raise the prices. Do you think that Congress or government should be involved at all in pricing and capping it, or being a free market, we should leave it alone? Who would like to go? Anyone? Eugenia?
I mean, I'm with you. I think the corporate greed is a big issue in this country. It's an amazing to have availability to be more free in this country. Just living around the world, I think there's nothing like America. But corporations do take a big, big chunk of money, which definitely can be distributed in a different way. And I agree, it's something that should be brought up to the congressman just to help people who really don't have any other avenues of income, and not as fortunate. So yeah, I'm with you 100%.
Even with food, there's like 4 main farm manufacturers, which is all like Tyson and all our GMO producing, products where they treat the animals horrible, give them antibiotics, and then sell the meat to us, which, it kind of stops the little guy and the little farms.
Yeah. I'm supporting farm to table, farm to table organizations. So I'm actually meeting with them next week, and we're going to try to do a big campaign and kind of support local farmers who work so hard. And, in pandemic, they were not able to deliver. They have to dump like eggs. You heard about that? It was terrible because of the, like the infrastructure system. They couldn't deliver to certain places in US and different countries, and the food went to waste, which I think is not a good system. So I think it's something that I'm consciously gonna be working with farms literally next week on that.
And now, Marianne, what do you think, especially having a farm?
I absolutely agree with you and Eugenia. I think corporate greed is huge, and I feel like they should do something about it. As far as us on our farm, I do not sell our stuff. I mean, we grow our own vegetables for ourselves, but my family, they have a blueberry farm and they grow the blueberries, and everything has just gone sky high. Everything they need in the past several months, everything they need to buy to operate the farm has gone at least double, some things much more. And it's very frustrating. And there are people that are less fortunate than, like Eugenia was saying, there are people that are less fortunate than me that aren't able to do some basic necessities that they need. And I think that's really sad.
Of course. Well, I think Justin Trudeau is a cutie, hee hee ha ha ha, in Canada. But how do you feel about greed in Canada, Jill?
Well, as the Canadians say, oh, we don't do that here, but you know how things go and all over. I'm not very well versed in this kind of topic, but the inflation like that has affected the food prices for sure. And I know that markets are really big these days, where a lot of people like when the people who price the food are like the farmers, right? So we have a few farmers markets even in my city in Calgary, and a lot of people are trying to be conscious of, it's called like support local in our town or whatever of Calgary, but all over I think. But yeah, I think the only way to really fix that, right? Because if you went to the legislation and trying to change those kind of laws, that's like a huge thing. I have no idea how to do that, guys. But I feel like supporting local and is probably something that like we could save money on, because I have noticed they're not as expensive, or they're astronomically. It depends. But then you feel good about supporting the people that are local, because like the imported food is usually like not as healthy, guys. That's always something I thought of, that we should be within our own city growing things instead of importing and exporting so much. But I wouldn't say that to upset other people. Maybe they're like, don't say that. But yeah, that's how I could see things helping your own city with that stuff. But I don't know this stuff very much.
No, it's all good. Just switching bases a little bit, talking about like supporting local and being positive. I found my own self being an actor. A lot of times I'll do freelance work where I'm in a new job or a new situation. And a lot of times, many people take their jobs very seriously. And in the back of my mind, you're making a movie, it's not brain surgery, nobody's life is, in danger. Or even if you're at an event or a party or a wedding, yes, I'm sure it's important to the bride and groom or the bar bat mitzvah. But at the end of the day, if your nerves aren't right, who cares? So what I found is two methods to kind of deal with the crazy people I might encounter who are really stressed out. Usually I'll just say yes and do what I want to do anyhow if I feel they're totally wrong with their suggestion. Nor sometimes I'll try to calm them down, be like, oh, it's gonna be great, I've done a million things like this, and like, oh, I got you, I hear you, give some sort of positive affirmation. On both accounts, I feel that everything works out really well. And worst case, whenever I found out that it doesn't work well, or somebody's really mean or very confrontational and I can't find another way to back down, I never, now, as when I was younger, maybe I would like retort or speak my mind or be like, this is why this happened, or this is why, it was delayed entertaining the kids because I had to do this, whatever the case may have been. Now I just act dumb, because you can't be mad at a dumb person. You can just have pity on them. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, I didn't know. And then they're just like, and then they move on. So anyhow, these are how I deal with like life snafus and different personality types that might be a little bit more aggressive or more negative, and try to turn it more towards the positive. So who has maybe an encounter or an example of like something where, you feel that you can kind of control the situation with your positive outlook? I'm gonna go with Marianne, because you're always positive. You're always saying sweet things.
I try. I can say that in my personal life, I have faced a lot of rejection, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt. And it's almost like in those moments, you're forced to make a choice. You're forced to make a choice to either look for the good or dwell on the bad. And for me, in every situation, even with the things that we're going through now, I try to make time to look at the good. And when you think about the things that you're lucky to have, it kind of helps overshadow the negative. So that's what I try to do. Like, I'll try to spend time with my animals. I love the fact that we live on this beautiful farm. I'll go outside, I'll take a break, I'll spend time with my animals. I will call a friend, thinking about the people that are in my life versus the ones that are not. It's kind of like mind over matter. I think the mind is a lot more powerful than we realize. And our thoughts can become what we do and how we act and how we live. So that's why I feel like being positive, it's contagious, and it can, in my opinion, cause your life to manifest things that you otherwise may not. But you've got to start with being positive and being grateful for what you do have.
Well, I'm grateful for you. And there is a saying, like, thoughts become things, and then
yes,
words.
And I'm grateful for you too.
Yeah. All right, Jill, what about you? Any secrets you have to like making a meanie, a sweetie, or take your dog around? What do you do?
Well, I really love what Marianne just said, because I'm like complete opposite of her. It's kind of like I feel like a lot of the time, you guys, living life to just survive it and like keep going. And you know, I'm still growing. You know, I'm 34, so I'm not that young. But I was adopted when I was young from Romania,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, so I found them finally with the positivity of being like, I want this so bad to find them, and then just randomly really found them on Facebook. And that was not too long ago. And I have a huge family in Romania that didn't forget about me, that was very affected by it and who needs my help. They're not doing as great as they could, you know, they're very close to Ukraine actually. So I was like, oh yeah, they're okay. But with that mindset, right, I've always had to live in the world of like, why do I have to be here with people like that are not my family, you know, even feeling like that when I was a child. And so since I've found them, like, yeah, I'm so much more positive and positive to make change for them, myself, to grow as an artist in what I do out here. But yes, you guys, like the mindset, like I wake up some days and just feel like, why am I separated from them? Why did God do this to me? And it's really to have a second life. You know, I was sick, you know, in the 90s, they were letting adoption be opened in Romania. And I was one of those kids who got adopted. And I was sick when I came, but not too sick, you know, I'm still here. But I feel like yes, a huge issue with being positive. So a lot of people who are like grumpy a lot and just like, why does my life suck? It's like, yeah, your life can suck, guys. Often it will. People will be jealous, mean to you, and you go up. It's even harder when you're being what we're doing here, guys, together, sharing ourselves, opening ourselves to who we are. People judge that sometimes. So it depends. A lot of people in film and TV are very unhappy because of the effects of other people's energy and what they think and how things can navigate because of that. But you guys always being positive, you know, can change my life. Sometimes, like, I just lost a great friend of mine recently who was everything to me in my business and everything. And I just thought to myself, guys, there's other people in the world, you know, from death to fighting to whatever happens to the worst things that can happen to you physically, everything. Just make sure you know that even if it gets so bad and you can't handle it, there's still another day. You still have to wake up the next day and find the joy in life. So I'm still working on that, you guys. So a lot of people who are negative, I'm like, yeah, I get it, guys. Life does suck. But to be positive that we are okay and not in horrible conditions, you know, like being, you know, all the things that are happening right now. So yeah, that's a few things about me.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
You had mentioned, you know, adoption in the 90s. I'm not sure about the timelines, but was it due to war? Is that why?
Ceausescu at the time, who was the ruler, you know, got killed, and you know, the government kind of changed, and they had opened up adoption really to make money off the children and scam people, a lot of it. But thank God, a lot of people did get out, but they don't let adoption anymore happen there because of you know, trafficking and all these things. And that's the thing, because I'm like Eugene, she's Russian, so she understands like being so far away from family, like you're living like separate. You're kind of like, what are they doing? Like it's hard to be happy in life when you're thinking of others. So what Marianne said was, guys, like, you know, you got to wake up and find the good things. Like that is so true, guys. Like if you're just like be happy and pretend to, you don't affect other people so negatively as well. So sometimes our depression can really affect others, but you know how it goes, guys. It's hard, yeah.
All right. Well, lastly, Eugenia, you're glowing. You look like a little angel in my left corner from where I'm looking. So how do you bring your light and your positivity to make a difference?
Well, you guys, thank you for your stories. You're like, I mean, I have goosebumps, you know, from like sharing a story, like being adopted. I can only imagine. I think I work with anti-human trafficking a lot. So I totally, you know, understand like the situation of like, okay, you being adopted and growing up, you have to work extra hard, you know, like not to blame your parents, right, for everything that happened to you. And of course, I'm not at that position. I was born in December 25, so you know you can definitely blame your parents for not having extra presents. But you know, I always take it into, oh my God, the world is celebrating, you know, and like everybody's so cheerful, and it just makes me feel happy. And also, you can give back to different, you know, organizations instead of getting presents. So I got that very early on, and also, you know, being born in like our time, like in post-Soviet time, in that part of the world, you're taught that you can't be happy no matter what. It's just like a mentality. Like if you're smiling, something is wrong with you. Like literally, I remember I started modeling pretty young. I went to Paris to live by myself at 15, and like my mentality changed. I was kind of becoming more European, and like I could see people smile and it's allowed, and you would come back and people would almost like aggressively, like almost like beat you, for being happy, like for nothing. So what I had to learn is not take anything personally, because I think one thing we do is we're a mirror of each other, and sometimes people can't take their happiness because they carry so much weight inside of them. So all you can do is, give them back extra positivity. That actually happened to me in Cannes. Like I just came back, and Cannes is a different, game, like of who, what, and like everybody wants to be a star for 15 minutes, and there's so much desperation and judgment. But I remember sitting at this table with this. There were a lot of influencers this year, not so many, movie people. And this girl, she like literally started kicking me out of the table. She's like, "I'm the only blonde with fringe on this table, with the bangs on this table." And oh my God, I look at this girl, she was so serious about it. And I felt so bad. I'm like, she must be so unhappy, And I decided to send her a little present. I left the table and I was like, I think sometimes we change people by actions rather than just, ignoring them, because all they need whenever you're negative is you're in pain, and I think we all go through that. It is good to be conscious and not take it out on other people, because it's so easy, especially to take it out on people who are closest to you. Like I'm responsible for that too. Sometimes you like shout at your husband or your kids, and you just know that you take out your own anger and has nothing to do with them actually. So yeah, and I think dealing with rejection, as like being an actor, every day you put your heart on the table and they smash it, no matter how much success or whatever you achieved, no matter where you are. Like I saw when Sharon Stone was walking the red carpet and everybody was sitting in the theater and like saying such mean things. And I'm like, okay, like she's done so much. She's given so much back. Like just say something nice. So I think your mind definitely is very important, and also interesting because I worked with a therapist who actually starting a podcast, but I was flying back and there was this one girl and she had phobia of flying, and she was just crying and like shouting, "Oh, the plane is going to crash," the whole flight.
Oh.
And my therapist said she works with a lot of people, who have phobias, and she tries to make them work on like thoughts, because if you think you're like in this little box, of course you can think so many things, but it's all about just reprogramming and focusing your mind in like one thought at a time.
Now, was the blonde at the table Anna Delvey from Inventing Anna?
Maybe.
Yeah, why are you the money? My father would do it, Rachel, or Eugenia.
I don't know. It was so interesting. It's such a changing world, as you were saying. Now Cannes is full of YouTubers and influencers just because they want to bring it back after COVID, but it's not as exclusive. So it's a different game plan, and everybody's all about selfies, and like it's completely changed.
Wow. Well, and on a final note for all our viewers, if you cannot have a positive mindset, if Marianne and Jill and Eugenia's good advice did not impact you, well, what I find helps is sometimes just drinking, crying, and masturbating myself to sleep. So, whatever really works. I'm just putting it out there. There's a method for everyone. Eugenia keeps smiling no matter what those haters say, but, we all have our way of coping, and Matt Cromer, call me, baby. I'm just saying. All right, moving on. On that visual that now scarred everybody who actually listened to it, so I apologize. I tend to be drawn, especially like that's probably why I like New York, to authentic people who are genuinely themselves, who march to their own beat. And then I found along the way as well that things I used to be ashamed of or didn't share actually can be a way to bond with others and being vulnerable. So maybe I'll start with you, Eugenia. Are there any areas where you thought being authentic or being vulnerable has had an impact around others, maybe benefited yourself or others from just being you and, being open about your experiences?
Absolutely. Well, my life started as like being a rebel against the regime, and I was punished for being authentic or like coloring outside the lines and like being creative. And then modeling like put on this whole thing where you're just an image and you can't be who you are. You just have to project whatever the client wants. So I kind of shut down, my heart for a long time. And I was fired from the job for talking too much. They're like, you're a model, you shouldn't talk. And very traumatic experience on some psychological level, but it took me a lot of self-work and kind of self-reflection to understand that authenticity is actually the only thing that matters in this life. And people can relate to that. We're all so drawn to that. It's like a light, authenticity. And it's so rare because it requires so much self-work and, lots of questioning and like inward work, not outward. Yeah, I mean, I think as an actor, like you can't be hired unless you're authentic and telling the story. Or as a singer, I think we're all drawn to that music, which is, really authentic, and comedians as well. Like people don't understand, they think it's about making jokes and things like that. But actually comedians go there and like completely stand naked with their hearts, just sharing things that they're judged on every day, or like whatever society's judged on, like whatever controversial. I personally can see it everywhere. I think it's very challenging for our kids just because we live in social media world where everything is so inauthentic, and we're taught that it gets you rewards like likes and that's the currency. So I think for like younger generation, knowing that your skills and talent and truth is something that is valuable and should be actually rewarded for that. I think it is challenging, but you still feel it on some level, by your heart, whenever you see somebody who's authentic and not fake.
Sure. What about you, Jill? You seem very authentic to me. Have you found that to be one of your strengths, or showing your vulnerable side as well, like you shared with us your background? Has it helped you in any way or helped others that you're aware of? Did you hear me? I'm sorry. Jill? Did she freeze? Oh, you're muted. There you go.
I'm muted. Yeah, you don't want to hear my dog barking in the back.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay.
No. Ask it one more time.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, sure.
Are we asking doing the same question before that Eugenia said, or the one that you said?
Well, it's kind of, I combined the two topics. They might be separate, but you can go in any direction that you want. But essentially, you come across to me as being very authentic. And also, you showed your vulnerability by talking about your past and some things that you'd have to overcome. So kind of the question is, take it in any direction you want. Have you found these qualities, being vulnerable, being authentic, to be a help for you? Or has it made you, impact others and you're aware of it? Things like that.
Okay, you guys. Well, with whatever you do in life, right? The view of what you look like to everybody else, to what you think you are and how you are with everyone else and all the things, it's different. So it's kind of like, as an actor, as a media person, as somebody in the limelight, we have that responsibility to live our life a certain way and showing images and what we're trying to talk about with people out there in our way. So people who actually follow us and are really big fans, they will know that they can trust what we say if we're authentic, because it's really hard to just like be that person, that model for here, and then you go home and be you, and it's so confusing on your mind of like what is acceptable. So when you walk in the room when you're working, there's always this attitude you have to have, like, I'm doing well, guys, I'm the next big thing. And it's like you have to be fake, in the industry just to survive. But I think the people that are like, hey guys, like professional, but themselves, get the most respect, because there's so much we could be like sharing every horrible thing that's happened to us and how that could affect somebody like ourselves, especially women. It's just like the whole thing of how we get treated still, you guys, is just ridiculous. Like coming in the door, right, is like, I don't know, what are you gonna do for us, and like all the things. But being myself, when I go being a publisher in Calgary, I'm always myself because I can't be like fake so much to the point, but I'll be reserved. And that served me really well. Like I know when I have my hat on for being my magazine or my acting person, you kind of watch yourself of what you're saying, respecting people, all that stuff, but always being yourself. We have our own storyline, our own beautiful things that happen to us that do make us us. And I feel like it's so easy to look at people like, Heidi Klum, right? And wish we were them. But when you hear their story, it's about the soul inside, guys. So I think a lot of people miss that. And they think that being themselves means making themselves look good. And I feel like, well, sometimes being yourself doesn't make you look good because the professionals, right? You don't know so much about them, to be honest. Like this whole Johnny Depp thing, him being himself completely throughout it. You got mad respect for the guy. But being so vulnerable, guys, like there's some things you're like, oh, that doesn't make you look good. So I'm always kind of teetering on, can I be myself? Because like just being Romanian and adopted and kind of like ADD and like silly or whatever, goofy is how we will come up as me, is kind of, it's like, no, I'm pretty serious, guys. My whole life is what I do with this stuff. But being yourself means to be happy with yourself without everybody thinking of what the heck they're even saying about you behind. That's their business. I try to think like that. So yeah, like always be yourself, guys. I like to be me, but I like to truly, when I'm out with other people, have that hat that's, if my mom or if they're taking pictures, what's going to happen with what it looks like to other people, but behind the scenes, like, yeah, scream, cry, leave things on the floor. I'm crazy of myself. I'm always me. And the people that know you the best, they accept you for both, always being your best or your worst. And those are the people that I like to be around, that don't gossip and don't be mean about other people in their heart. So it's like always look for the best soul, because everyone has their quirks and is their way they are. It's just meshing with the people that you like and that are long-term is my thing. Long-term friendships and working. So you have to, accept yourself to accept others as well.
Amen. I agree.
Yeah.
Love yourself. I love somebody else. And two examples I think of in the industry where being authentic, really paid off. One, two of my inspirations. I love Madonna when I was growing up. Now, not so much, but anyhow, we all have our own journey. And then also Oprah. But anyhow, I remember when Madonna's nude photos first came out, everybody was shaming her and everything. And so then there was like a big headline, and I think the Post, maybe the Times, I'm not ashamed. She's just like, I did it. I needed money. That's that. And then it turned out that became her brand, was to challenge the norm and to also create controversy. But at the time, she thought she might lose her whole career. So by not apologizing or whatever was never done. Before they would always shame a woman, like, how could you do such a thing? And you're a naughty girl, and whatever, without going into like your negativity about the topic. But anyhow, it became her brand by just her being like, no, I did what I had to do. I'm not apologizing for something I'm not ashamed about, and we're moving on. And it worked. And then the other example, I think why, white women even, were drawn to Oprah, who grew up poor, and her audience was probably like affluent suburb white women. You would think that maybe they have nothing in common, but I think when she opened up about her own abuse, and was the first talk show host to actually break that wall, is when everybody was like, I get her, I know her, maybe they shared in the same story, and that was her vulnerability. And her being able to connect and be vulnerable with others is what catapulted her to be one of the wealthiest women in the industry. So God bless to both. And either one wants to go to lunch, call me. Hopefully you're paying, but call me. Anyhow, Marianne, to you, my darling, who's always authentic and beautiful, what are your thoughts?
Oh my. So I know for me personally, in my past, I was kind of in, I don't know how to explain it other than maybe like a cage. It felt like I was caged in by what other people wanted me to be. A lot of religious people involved heavily in church. A woman should be quiet. A woman should, I was ridiculed for having a very goofy sense of humor because that's me. So I used to conform to what either my partner at the time or the church wanted me to be, but I'm 36 now. So as I've gotten older, I'm not that person anymore. I am totally and 100% me. And Sean, you know this. I do not apologize. I am goofy. I am loud. I voice my opinion, and I don't care what someone else thinks, because I spent so much of my life trying to be liked by the wrong people. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to enjoy my life. So I'm going to be me. And it's a very freeing feeling. It's very freeing when you don't care anymore what these small-minded people think. And you just step outside that box, you break that box, and you just be yourself. And I love it. And I want to laugh and enjoy life. And if somebody doesn't accept me for who I am, and let me tell you, there are plenty of people that don't. I see them, I know who they are. I just say bye-bye. Goodbye. I don't care, because
let's name them now. Who are those haters we wish destruction upon?
Oh dear, that's going to take a while. I mean, but honestly, it's like, how miserable must these people be that they want to sit around and talk about everybody else? You know what? People have described me, there's people in my husband's family, they've been like, well, Marianne, she's just different. And there's other people that have been like, ew, why do you like those animals? That's gross. Okay, then don't look at my pictures. It's simple, it's not that hard. But people are either, I think, a leader or a follower when it comes to being authentic. Some people want to follow the crowd. I don't do that. I don't want to do that. So that's my answer.
Love it. And I'll just share a little bit with my own story. Being authentic to me wasn't a choice. I'm just so out there. That's just who I always was. I didn't even realize until my high school yearbook when everybody wrote, I've never met anyone like you. And I'm like, guess I'm different. Being vulnerable wasn't what I led with, because I grew up poor in a trailer. I was ashamed of that. Like, I didn't want people to know where I lived. I felt less than, because a lot of my friends or whatever had more successful families. So I felt a little bit ashamed of what my roots were. And I think that did not change until later on in life, in a very silly cooking contest. I mainly was on it to get some hosting reel, but I was on Worst Cooks in America. And most of the people were entertainers or in the industry. And one of my fellow contestants, African-American lady, said that the audience for Food Network is largely Midwest, conservative, and that they're going to view me as being like overly groomed, overly wealthy, and they're not going to like me. And I'm like, really? And then she's like, yeah, because I've always like led with the funny. And I was like, oh, I want to be the funny guy in the show. And then I was like, okay, well, if these people maybe, feel that I'm in a different class, I'm just going to share. So like I mentioned, I had a lazy eye. I grew up in a trailer, dodgeball, like a deer in headlights. When you're fat and you're a kid, you can't run. So just hit me. So I just opened up, and that was the beginning of it. And then later on, during the pandemic, I was asked to do a speech for kids, and I wanted to do something impactful. So I shared a story where I was beaten up, in high school, sucker punched for being different. But that led me to find a high school of performing arts. And it led me to where I am today. So I went from being a victim to finding my own personal victory out of the situation. And so now, I want to continue, sharing and leading with that, because who we were, where we come from, nothing defines us. We define our own selves. And even as Jill was mentioning, we're always evolving and growing and changing, and nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to have a perfect day. But we can decide what impact we want to have and what we're putting out there, for others. So yeah, that's my little 2 cents on, the whole subject matter. But I love what you ladies shared today. You guys are so awesome. Does anybody have anything to share with the audience? It's like a final, note. It could be positive. It could be a joke. It could be anything you want. Any last comments, ladies?
Just be yourself. Oh, sorry.
You go first.
That's okay. Just be yourself. That's all I'm going to say. And don't worry about what other people think. If they don't like you for being you, then they don't belong with you.
Amen.
Yeah, exactly. If you know that you're not doing anything behind the scenes to hurt anybody, just don't hurt yourself as well. That's the whole thing too. And it's been a pleasure today, you guys. This is my first episode. I bothered Rocco to please promote him in my magazine and ended up here. So you guys, I can't wait to do more with you. And it's been really fun sharing and So happy to be here.
FNL Virgin, welcome. All right, Eugenia.
Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful to be here, and I'm just humbled by your guys' stories because I think it's much more interesting for me to listen. Honestly, I think I learn every time I'm here, and I think we're lucky just to have this day, you know, in this moment. I think the hardest thing is to live in the moment and being grateful for everything.
Aw. Well, I am grateful for this opportunity. So thank you to Rocco, to FNL, to these beautiful ladies. And on a final note, Matt, if you're lonely in town, call me. I'm here for you. I live in Chelsea, whatever I can do. Need a massage? You looked a little tense ordering your one. I am here for you. And if Matt doesn't call, to anybody else who's watching, who happens to, be attracted to a middle-aged man and you're affluent and you have to support him, maybe help fund the arts. We all contribute in our own way. Feel free to go to SeanPBennet.com, find me. I'm available. I'm ready. My morals are very lucid. So whatever, we can work on. So on that note, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Should we do a screenshot before we go? Is that a thing?
Sure.
Let's do one real quick to
Sure.
commemorate today. Raylu can't wait. He wants to post it, he says.
All right, cool.
Are you doing it or am I doing it?
Oh, I was gonna let you do it. I'm like the worst with technology.
Okay, I think I know how to do it. I might end the call though. I hope not. Here we go. I think we got it. Okay, we got it. Okay, bye guys. See you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Love you guys.